Hello guys, welcome back. Hope you're ready for this detailed insight. In this detailed insight, we're going to give some really important details actually, and like a lot of details probably. So just keep a notebook next to you, have a pen, just write some notes, take some notes if you can. Maybe you can of course repeat the video and revisit every single part of this presentation. But for now, try to focus because I'm going to give you a lot of details on the SAT. Okay, let's start like this. The SAT has two sections. The first section is English, and the second section is math. We'll start with the English section because with this section you're going to start in the real SAT exam. English. The English has two sections. The first section is the reading section, and the second section is the writing and language section. We will start with the reading. The reading. So, as the name states, the reading test is designed to measure how well you read and interpret texts that you will encounter in your university. So, they test the student. They want to see, are you prepared, as I mentioned? Are you ready for the college? When you face for example, a scientific article in the college, will you be able to understand the author's message, the big picture, the purpose, and so on? That's what the reading sections test the students for. Let's move on. These are really important information, guys. The SAT has 65 minutes, 5 passages, and 52 questions. You're going to have 65 minutes to read 5 passages and answer 52 questions. Some of you guys might say that this time is not enough. Actually, it is enough, but it is really, you don't have any time. You don't have any minute to waste. You will have to be really quick solving these questions. You have to solve a lot of practice tests, and you have to know all the tips and tricks in the reading, in this reading section. The time is not much. Like I agree, the time, like 52 questions and 5 passages in almost 1 hour. That's not a lot of time, but hopefully together we will go through a lot of tricks to know how each question should be solved and how each part of the passage or how each type of passage should be approached. Okay, because there are different types of passages on the SAT. We're going to see now. As mentioned earlier, there are 5 passages, one of which is a literary passage. It is going to be related to fiction and could be a short story or a part of a novel. So basically, I don't want you to be confused here. A novel, let's just say that a novel is a long story for simplicity. Short story or a long story. The first passage in the SAT we're going to be literary passage, as mentioned. It is going to be related to fiction, stories. In the upcoming lessons, I'm going to explain each type of passage in details, but for now, just keep in mind that from the 5 passages, one of the 5 passages is a fiction passage or a literary passage. The other 4 passages will be informational passages, and their topics will be of the following: history, social studies, and science. So very simple, actually. There's no need to explain a lot of details. But so like you have 5 passages, one of which is a fiction passage, and the other 4 will be informational, history, social studies, or science. The purpose of the passages is one of the followings. So, as I told you, there are 5 passages. The purpose of the 5 passages won't be other than these 3 purposes. It has to be one of these. To tell a story, for example, if it's a fiction or a literary passage, it is going to tell a story. For history and social studies, like especially history, they're going to make an argument. For example, women right, or like people of color. They're going to talk about people of color and their rights. Maybe history of America, for example. So they will try to make an argument, and you have to, of course, understand their argument and answer accordingly, or explain a study or experiment. That's mostly for the science and social studies part of the passages. Let's move on. 3 types of questions. In the reading section, almost every question can be listed under these 3 types. We have to focus a little bit here because we started to get through the complex stuff, let's say. Information and ideas. This type of question is the broadest of all. 3. Questions that focus on what the passage says. Let me read, then I'll explain. Includes the author's message, information, inferences, evidence, themes, summaries, and meaning of words and phrases, etc. You see, this type of questions includes like almost, let's say 40, maybe 40%. If we draw a pie chart, a big portion actually, maybe almost this portion, will go through this type of question in the reading. It simply, let me explain it in the simplest way possible. It asks about the message, about the ideas. It asks about anything related to, about almost everything related to the passage. How you can summarize, as you can see, as you can read here, how you can summarize what is the passage, what is the passage's main ideas, what does the author mean by his message, and so on. So for this question, keep in mind, this asks about the ideas in the passage. For the second type of question is rhetoric. So questions that ask you to think about how the author conveys his or her meaning. So the first type of questions is related to the passage itself, the ideas, the summaries, the vocabs in the passage, and so on. But the second type of questions is related to the author. For example, what are his methods? What are his methods? What are the methods used in this passage? How did he convey his information? What are his word choices? Is he using real, let's say, harsh words to explain the subject? Is he with or against? What is his opinion? Sometimes from his use of words, you can see what does he mean, and is he with, or what is his opinion, and what is his tone. This is actually the tone. Is he with? Is he against? Is he supporting this subject? Is he like talking? For short, we want to go. We don't want to go through a lot of SAT vocabs or a lot of academic vocabs, let's say. But is he, in the simplest form possible, is he talking about the subject in a good way or in a bad way? Is his usage of words are good? Is he talking good things about the subject, or is he talking bad things? Just from the usage of the word, not from the passage itself. So the second, I told you, the first type of questions is related to the passage and ideas and information in the passage. The second type, however, is related to the author. And we have the last type, synthesis. As you can see here in the picture, I've wrote mix because synthesis, is simply mixing. Simply, this word could be like a new word, a new vocab for you guys. It simply means to mix two ideas, to mix two things, to make something new. So synthesis is mixing. Synthesis questions that pardon me. Let's focus. Synthesis questions require you to draw conclusions and make connections, as I told you. Make connections, so you're combining and mixing between passages or between passages and informational graphics. This is simply synthesis, the third type of the reading questions. Synthesis has two types. The first type asks you to draw connections between the two paired passages. One of the passages could have two passages inside. So instead of having, for example, a 200-word passage, you're going to have a 100-word passage and another 102 passages. So it's not gonna be really longer actually, but you have the passage split in two, and each passage is different. They're going to be talking about different topics. Probably the topics must be related, so you can make these synthesis and connection between the passages. But the first type, as I told you, as mentioned here, to make connections between two passages. The second type, however, asks you to draw connections between the passage and the infographics. The infographics are, you see, you always see these infographics. This is called an infographic, or for example, a pie chart having like different portions. These are infographics. So they will bring you a passage and an infographic and ask you to make synthesis, or like to mix between this and this, to combine the ideas from here and from here. So let's revise the first questions. The first type of questions asks you about information and ideas in the passage. So it is related 100% to the passage and the information inside the passage. The second, as for the first one, the second type asks you about the author, his tone, his attitude, his usage of words. Is he with? Is he against? Is he talking good things in the simplest form? Is he talking good things about the topic, or is he talking bad things? Is he supporting or not? The third type is this type, the synthesis, mixing between ideas in its simplest form, mixing between ideas from infographs or from infographs and passage. This is the second type, or between two passages. Let's move on to the writing and language section.